this lecture, we will continue our chapter number 5, Separation of Substances. So, today's topic is use of more than one method of separation. So, what is the meaning of this heading? For separate the mixture, for separate the components from the mixture, we required more than one method. So, how can we understood that? So, we have studied some methods for separation of substances from their mixture, like winnowing, threshing, sieving, hand picking process. So many methods are there to separate the substance from their mixture. Often one method is not sufficient to separate the different substances present in the mixture. Like if we having a salt, sand, water or milk, and we want to separate the all components. So it is not enough to use a one kind of method to separate all kinds of components from the mixture. So in this situation, we need to use more than one of these methods. Like, to understood that, let's do one activity. Take a mixture of sand and salt. How will we separate this? Because the particles of the sand and salt are very small, and size of both particle is nearly the same and very small compared to the big particle like a stone, impurities or the fruit. So we already saw that hand picking process would not be a practical method for separating this. So we can't separate the salt and sand by the hand picking process. So for that, let's keep this mixture in a beaker and add some water into it and leave the beaker aside for some time. And after some time, when we observe that the sand will settle down in a beaker. Do you see the sand settling down at the bottom? Yes. The sand can be separated by the decantation or filtration process. So when we put aside the beaker, after some time when we observe that in the bottom of the beaker, we see the sand is settled down. And after that, we will do the decantation process. In the decantation process, what we can do? We will pour the liquid or water in the another vessel, which is nearly the pure liquid. And this pouring the liquid or water into the another vessel, this process is called the decantation process. And the liquid which we will pour into the another vessel, that is called the decanted liquid. So what does the decanted liquid contain? Do you think this water contains the salt which was there in the mixture at the beginning? Now, in the decanted liquid, what is there in the decanted liquid? Because the sand is settled down in the first beaker. Now, in the second beaker, we pour out the water and we get the decanted water. And in this decanted water, which is also mixed in water, salt. So, salt is also mixed in water in a decanted liquid. Now, we need to separate salt and water from the decanted liquid. Now, in the second beaker, we have the decanted liquid. It means the mixture of salt and water. Now, we want to separate the salt from the water. So, what we should do? Transfer this liquid to a kettle and close its lids. Now, to separate the salt from the water, we have to transfer that decanted liquid into the kettle. And we have to cover it with a lid. Heat the kettle for some time. Do you notice steam coming out from the spot of the kettle? Yes. Take a metal plate with some ice on it. Now, the steam will comes out from the spot of the kettle. Spot of the kettle, it means whole of the kettle. So, steam will comes out, and when we put a plate and with some ice on the stem, so hold the plate just above the spot of the kettle as shown in the figure 5.13. see, this is the figure 5.13. This is the stem which is comes out from the spot of the kettle, and we have to hold the plate like this and put some ice on the plate. Because of the cooling plate, stem will convert into the water, and this process is called the condensation process. Now take a metal plate with some ice on it. Hold the plate just above the spot of the kettle as shown in the figure. What do you observe? Let all the water in the kettle boil off? Yes. When the stem comes in contact with the metal plate cooled with ice, it condenses and forms liquid water. So here the condensation process will take place. When we heat the kettle, so inside the kettle we have the decanted liquid and the water will evaporate and stem will comes out from the spot of the kettle, and when the stem is touched with a cool plate, it will convert into water. So we get the water into the another beaker or glass which is a pure water. So when the stems comes in a contact with the metal plate cooled with ice, it condenses and forms liquid water. The water drops that you observed falling from the plate were due to condensation of stem. Did you ever see water drop condensed under a plate that has been used to cover a vessel containing milk that has just been boiled? At your home, you will observe that when your mother cooked food or boil a milk or boil a water, and she will cover that vessel with a lid, and you can see that the lower side of the plate having a drops of water. So how it's occurred? Because of the vapor of the substance. When we heat the substance like a milk or water, so vaporization of that moisture or the water inside that will taken place, and when the stem will touch with a plate, so it's formed the water drops. After all the water has evaporated, what is left behind in the kettle? After the evaporation process, we get the pure liquid in the another beaker. Now what is left behind the kettle? So there is a salt. We have to separate the salt and water by the evaporation and the condensation process, and sand